Welcome to Connect the Dots. I'm Mikki Meisner, and this is my guest.
Baron Robinson.
Baron is the founder of Kicking Cancer and my mentor for Kicking Cancer Washington. Baron, a lot of times people ask me, who are you and how did you get started? So let's talk about that.
Well, I think the big thing for you is you didn't know how to say no to me. I just kept coming back, and you said no, and I came back, and you said no, and I just kept coming back. But it's an exciting relationship to have this up here in Washington. But the question was me, and really, this all started as a very interesting, unhappy situation that became a happy accident. It would have been November 2015, so 9 years ago, that my sister Brenda, who lives in Yuma, Arizona, was diagnosed with breast cancer. Mm-hmm. Very interesting little story about how she found out. There is a machine that's available, not in enough places, in my opinion, but it's really non-invasive. Cancer cells are harder than the other cells in your body. So the machine, you just sit in it, and it blows cold air on you.
It's a thermography.
It's a thermography machine.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. It's a thermography machine. Her husband's a venture capitalist, and they were raising money for this doctor to get one. And they go to Los Angeles, because they live in Arizona. They go to Los Angeles, and they're showing this crowd to try to get the money. And my sister, Brenda, she says, here, I'll show you how non-invasive this is. So she sits on the machine, and it goes around, and it blows cold air on her. Mm-hmm. And the doctor says, did you know you have breast cancer?
Wow.
And that's how she found out. Yeah, I'm sure she had the same reaction you just did. So that would have been November 2015. Mm-hmm. The type of cancer she had was a slow-growing but very aggressive tumor. Basically, that meant that if they did chemotherapy, it'd kill all the good cells around the cancerous cell. When it decided to wake up, there'd be no good cells to fight it. Mm. So her entire treatment protocol was high doses of liquid vitamin C.
Smart girl.
Yeah. By about September of 2017, the markers were looking good. It did go metastatic. There's a little spot on her hip, a little spot in her lungs, but things were looking really good. And to keep it from growing, she just took all the processed foods out of her diet. She went really vegetarian, really vegetables. That doesn't sound right. She did a lot of vegetables.
She went really vegetable.
Really vegetables. Yeah, she became a broccoli. But she came to visit me at Christmas 2017, and she just looked really healthy, right? We have a great visit. She flies home early 2018, which is now almost 7 years ago. I called her. I said, do you want to do this thing called a Warrior Dash? And it's down in Canby, Oregon. It's a 3-mile trail run with some little obstacles along the way, just like a victory of her beating cancer. And that's, Mikki, that's literally how Kicking Cancer started. Is I went to some of my friends. I worked at Costco. I said, do you want to do this with us? We had a really bright pink shirt that said Kicking Cancer in there with a donkey on it. Mm-hmm. And Brenda's name was on the shirt. And 42 of us did this trail run wearing a really bright pink shirt that was really brown at the end.
I've seen the pictures.
But when she flew home, I called her. I said, you know what you're doing to stay alive? We could share that with people.
Yeah.
We could share it with people. And so she flew back, and we took $25 to the bank, and we started this little tiny business then it was called Help Team Brenda. Now it's called Kicking Cancer. And it just began to grow because I said, why don't we find one more person we could help?
That was your idea. I thought that was her idea.
One more person we could help.
Okay.
And at the time,
and then one more turns into one more, and that's really the mission of Kicking Cancer is each one teach one.
Yeah.
Like one more person helping one more person.
I had gone back to work at Costco after we did that Warrior Dash, and a coworker said, you know, it's cool what you did for your sister because I have cancer in both breasts.
There's no shortage of people with cancer.
Unfortunately, that's very true.
So at this recording, November 8th, it's a little bit serendipitous.
Very serendipitous.
Which was your word for the year, the first year that you started Kicking Cancer.
The word I had for 2018 was serendipitous, right? Things kept happening that were very serendipitous. Mm-hmm. And then you came along. This is our first year together. What's your word for this year?
for 2024 was serendipitous. I have a new word for 25. You're not going to like it. Back to Brenda.
Yeah, back to Brenda.
Yeah. So you started Kicking Cancer officially 6 years ago today.
Yes.
That was the part I was trying to get to.
Yeah. So once we knew we had an idea that was going someplace, money was coming in, but people were like, you're not really a nonprofit. You should be a nonprofit. And I come from the for-profit world. I had restaurants and so forth. So I did file paperwork with the state of Oregon, and we were officially recognized by the state of Oregon on November the 8th, 2018, which is 6 years ago today, as a domestic nonprofit corporation.
Nice.
And then I had to learn what the heck I was doing because I didn't know how to run a nonprofit.
So I don't remember the date that you came here. A mutual friend brought you to my wellness center.
Yeah.
Another serendipitous event.
Well, and what makes that even more serendipitous is we become a nonprofit in 2018. I got to figure this whole thing out through 2019. I'm just starting to get it all figured out. 2020 rolls around. Now I got to do it through COVID. And there's a joke around Salem that there was never a day that there wasn't at least 2 or 3 bags of cans in my car that I would recycle to pay those bills.
Oof.
Like I had something going.
Right.
And there was still a handful of very fixed bills that had to be paid. And either I figured out how to pay them or this idea went away. And I'm like, I don't want it to go away. So I was always cans in my car to pay those bills. 2020. 2021, I find a networking group that will help me called BNI. And from a referral of a referral of a referral, someone said you should come to Vancouver, Washington and see this really cool store. So I meandered up here. It was either March or April. It was early 2022. Okay. At that point, I'd managed to survive COVID. I'd managed to find some help with other referral partners. And then someone said you should go to Vancouver. And I sat in this, not this office, but I sat in an office in this room. And this lady walks by. And I had just said the word cancer. And that lady turns around and pops her head in the door and says, "What?" That lady was you.
Yeah.
And that's how we met.
Yeah.
So what's your memory of that day?
That's about it. I'm like walking by and I was like, wait a minute, what did you just say?
And who's this guy in this room?
And so so you asked if we could do like a wellness clinic, you called it here.
Yep.
An event. I am all about educating people on how not to get cancer. It's a little tricky with the laws around the C word.
Yep.
What you can say and what you can't say, what you can do. And owning a wellness center, I'm always tiptoeing around that conversation. But if I were really ballsy, I would say that I helped people reverse and prevent it, although I'm not that bold.
Yeah. Well, what I had to figure out before I met you was people were asking me down in Salem what made this thing I had started different from all these other cancer groups that are out there.
Right.
And I said, the difference is that the other ones, and I'm glad they're there. I'm glad that they're there for the ladies who have breast cancer and the people who had blood cancer, whatever, but they're all very reactionary. You have cancer. We're terribly sorry. Let us support you through the journey.
Right.
I said, we are proactive to prevent.
Yeah.
So our mission is that you not get the stupid thing in the first place.
Well, there's a lot of education that goes around with that, and it's an uphill battle because people have preconceived notions, and we're very, as a culture, conditioned to be reactionary and to have a pill for an ill mentality. So it's an uphill battle, but it's one worth having.
Well, and I'm glad you said it that way because, again, it was the end of 2019. I'm busting my tail in Salem trying to get someone to hear me because I'm a very different message back then. And I thought maybe if I did some stuff with the American Cancer Society, they might help, right? So they have a group called CAN. It's the Cancer Action Network. It's their volunteer arm. And they were going to do this little march on Salem to try to bring a new tax, a tax on cigarettes. Okay. First, I'm having this conversation with a lady going, what's your objective? If you're going to tax the cigarettes, why? What's your objective, right? And she's like, well, if they pay more, then they'll smoke less. That'll reduce lung cancer. I didn't agree with her logic, but it didn't matter. Like, I just need some help from somebody. So I show up at their event. A bunch of volunteers are getting ready to walk over the state capitol. Kid you not, Mikki, I walk in, and there's a whole line of donuts
Yeah.
because it's early in the morning, and I'm thinking to myself, that's kind of contradictory to the cancer message. You're just feeding these people sugar. And I sat there and listened to her whole spiel, and she says, if you're getting a little tired, just go get another donut. And I'm like, I can't do this. I just can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
So I left, and I called one of our board members, who was a doctor, and I said, why is this so hard? And he goes, we have a society that wants an instant fix to everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. Here's a pill to fix. And he says, our message is so contradictory to society. Right. He says, just either quit bearing or keep doing it because it's going to get a long time.
Yeah.
And then I met another person, you, who is as adamant. This is a hard
I'm
message.
As crazy as your sister.
We've often joked that you're just my sister from a different mister.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that was really the message, is how to be proactive to prevent cancer.
So to be fair, Barron asked me to join forces with him and have a chapter of Kicking Cancer. It's called Kicking Cancer Washington. And
except we met in 2022.
Right.
And we did a couple of our clinics up here. Okay. That takes us through 2023.
Right.
At that point, I'm like,
he's like, hey, will you be on the radio show? Hey, will you be on this podcast? Hey, will you? Hey, will you?
You came down to Salem, and we're on my radio show down there numerous times. And by the end of 23, I'm like, we could actually maybe do some chapters. So we had to hire an attorney. We had to make some changes to our bylaws. And then we had to find somebody crazy enough to start a chapter. And how many times did you tell me no?
At least 3.
At least 3.
So I've taken a few sales classes, and in sales, you say no 3 times, and then you're done.
But Barron won't leave you alone.
It doesn't work like that. Spoiler alert, we are looking for crazy people in other states to do more chapters so that this message goes on. What's the big goal?
The big goal is to be global. The big goal is to have 1,000 chapters globally.
Yeah.
And I often say it's good. We call them communities, but every chapter / community is going to look different, because if we had one in Uganda, Africa, it's going to look dramatically different than Manhattan, New York.
Right.
Because inner city New York, the message is eat real food, do some movement, support your friends. That's going to look different in downtown New York than it looks in an African country.
Yeah, hard to find a farmer's market in downtown New York, I bet.
Yeah. But how you support your friends is also different but consistent.
Right.
And I guess my question for you, now that you have not said no and agreed, and this last year's been a lot of work, right?
It's been a lot of work,
but
it's been hard.
But it has been gratifying?
It's been very gratifying. Every time I do a Go team, I think I'm crazy. I try to talk myself out of it, and then we get to the end, and everybody's crying, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
So just back up for a second, because many of them don't know our messaging.
What a Go team is. So first of all, mission statement. Let's back up the bus.
So when I did the one to help Brenda out, Channel 8 News in Portland, her name's Tracy Berry. She was one of the most senior broadcasters, agreed to come to Salem and do a story about us. I'm like in shock, right? Wow, and I asked her once, why did you agree to this story? And she said, I can do a story every day about cancer. This is not about cancer. This is about a brother and sister. She saw more than I saw, right? And so at the very end of our little interview, we've got a bunch of us on these treadmills, and she said, I want all of you to say, go Team Brenda. And that was how that interview ended. So that became kind of our war cry, go Team Brenda. I said, why don't we just keep using that? As the next person comes along, it becomes go Team whoever. So a go team is when friends of that person rally together to help that person. And you have had a phenomenal success with 2 of them here.
Yeah.
With very different events and very different outcomes.
Yeah.
But very common, heartwarming situations, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot, and it's worth it. It's not for the faint of heart. The second one I did, I think, was harder for me just because her philosophy was 100% different. I'm all about naturopathic. I'm all about, let me coach you. And she was like, really just want to die.
And you mean that literally?
Literally.
Because hers is terminal.
Hers is terminal.
I just want to die.
I had to make peace with that. And you know what? I'm 100% here with you, for you. And just to support her and love her where she was. and like let her be the boss of this Go team, because it really was about her. And that was, you know, walking through every step of this uphill battle. This one was hard. I kept saying to myself, this is for you. This is for you, because every single one is going to be different. But the honor of rallying behind someone, however this goes, you know, whether it's a success story of I beat cancer, like our first one, whose prostate level is still 0. I don't know if he told you that.
We had the pleasure to. I talked to him before we started recording. That's so awesome.
Or if you know they just want take the edge off of some bills while they do that. So the Go team is where we get behind and we raise money for someone. I don't think we like landed that plane.
Put the brakes on and
put the
back
brakes
up for a
on.
second.
Yeah. So I had a sort of an expanded version of that, and you've been doing Go teams for 6 years now, and
we just did our 30th Go team.
Fabulous.
That's so cool.
My vision really, it kind of hit me. We did the first Go team, and so we hand them a check, and yay, it was awesome, and tears, and it was amazing. And then I'm thinking, well, what now? You know, what now for Robert was that Go team? And I'm like, I really want to put together sort of comprehensive directory, local, since we're keeping each community local, of go-to teams.
And I love the phraseology of what you're building.
I know a couple of people that are that have the thermography technology, and definitely part of the go-to team. I know a naturopath, part of the go-to team. I know a very holistic-minded chiropractor, part of the go-to team. So, like, really, in my whole wellness center, we talk about tools of transformation, which is empowerment, things that you can do so that the cancer doesn't come back, or things that you can do
to not get it in the first place.
Because do you know the statistic of how often it comes back? It's dismal.
It's not good.
It's terrifying. But, you know, I think is it 2 out of 3 people that are going to get cancer now? Is that the number?
The current
it keeps changing.
The current statistic is 2 out of 3 females and every other man.
Okay.
But they said based upon statistical models, if we go just 10 or 15 years out, it's going to be every other American. And this is a really recent statistic. I think it's even 2 weeks old. England specifically, so the United Kingdom, which I guess is England, Scotland, but the United Kingdom is getting 1,000 new cases a day. 1,000 new cases a day in the United Kingdom. So not only are we not slowing this thing down, we've accelerated it. And one of the things I love about the show that we're creating right now, we're here to help you connect the dots. That's the name of the show, Connecting the Dots with Mikki and Barron. There is stuff that you don't know. You just do not know that you're doing. And if we can help you connect these dots, we got to slow this thing down.
Well, and here's the thing. On that note, cancer, all disease, all degenerative disease, cancer just happens to be the big one on that list.
Right.
85% of that is your lifestyle. So 85% preventable. Why aren't we talking about that? Why aren't we talking about how not to get cancer? I think it's time to get the megaphone and start helping people take their power back and not get cancer. And the thing is it's not a sexy story.
No.
Right? It's like, oh, I didn't get arthritis, or oh, I didn't get cancer. But, you know, when you're at your class reunion, everybody's standing around talking about all their health issues, you know, the hero story is that I got cancer and I cured myself.
That's the hero story.
And that's my story. However,
which that'll be the next episode. Tune in to the next episode for that one, because we are running low on time, but we really encourage you to come to the next episode because we're going to talk about your story, and we can't do that the next 4 or 5 minutes.
What if the hero story was, I didn't get cancer? Well, I'm an anomaly. What would that be like?
One of the greatest statements I heard from a guest on my radio show some time back is she said, if you do what we're talking about, you will never know how many diseases you did not get.
Right.
Right? Is that sexy? No, it's not sexy. But how many diseases did you not get?
Right.
And what I love, you know, we're a nonprofit, we have a board of directors, and our board says if people are listening to our message, heart disease will go down, Alzheimer's will go down.
Right.
All these diseases will go down because
Right.
of the lifestyle change we're talking about. And it's not sexy.
Like the
but
worst thing that could happen is we make the world a better place.
heaven forbid.
I'm down for that.
Heaven forbid.
I'm down for that.
Well, I love the fact that my first word was serendipity, and it's serendipitous and it truly was serendipitous that you and I met.
It was.
But it's really going to be great just to see how this grows out. And my last thing to tell is a fun story, and I know we're running low on time here, but I was given a really interesting nickname in Salem. It was a total accident, but I became known in Salem as the kicking cancer guy.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not time for some interesting stories, but I was called by people that, why would you call me, right? And they said, well, you're the kicking cancer guy. Who else would we call?
Mm-hmm.
So as we're building out these communities, you are the guide. You are the kicking cancer guide.
Yeah, and
for
I'm
this
that crazy first follower.
You're the crazy first follower. And the guide is a rewarding, challenging, difficult, rewarding job all at the same time. And
Yeah.
you and I cried on the phone when,
So how do people donate? How do people get involved?
they go to kicking-cancer. So we separate the two words, kicking, add the G, kicking-cancer.org. There's right at the spot, you can hit donate. Really encourage the donations to keep these things going on.
Yeah.
Within the next month or so, as with your choices, there'll be one that says communities. Click on communities, click on Washington, click on Vancouver, and that'll hyperlink to your website.
Yeah.
And they can see how there's a consistent message. Just all of your go-to teams will list it on your website, not ours.
Mm-hmm.
But, I envision the day when they click on communities and a map of the world comes up, and then they got to pick what country they're going
I think
to.
that can happen. I think it's time for people to hear what we have to say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
let's not get cancer.
let's not get cancer. I'm trying to make eye contact with our timer person. I'm not sure where we're sitting at on time.
2 minutes.
2
You've got
minutes.
2 minutes.
2 full minutes. Well, one of the things I love about what we're doing, Mikki, and I do have time to tell you this story. If people look back historically, when the colonists stood up to England and actually got their freedom, right? And it's a bit fitting that we're getting into Vancouver, the Veterans Weekend. But then France goes, wait a minute, and realize France was a big ally for us to beat England.
Mm-hmm.
So then the French said we could have our freedom from these Louis that have been controlling us for a long, long time. Except if they'd had just decided to rebel, they'd have got their heads cut off, which many of them did. They found problems. They found weaknesses inside of their own society. They began to exploit those problems, and that's what created the French Revolution. Guess what you and I are doing? We are exposing the problems in our society to people who are, we're done. Many people are just frustrated.
They're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And it's time for people to stand up and take their power back.
Yep.
It's time.
In our last few seconds, and this will be a trailer for you guys to listen to next time, because Mikki and I are going to connect a lot more dots for you. But this year is almost done. This year, the pharmaceutical industry will profit, not gross, net revenue. They will make $1.3 trillion, and none of that was invested into how to not get disease. Why? Why would they not tell us how to not get disease when they made that much money?
I mean, it's good residual income.
It's darn good residual. So, which is a whole nother show.
That's a big dot to connect, but
Big dot
we'll get
connects,
there.
yeah. But this is, so again, I encourage you to keep coming back to this podcast. We're going to keep connecting more and more dots.
We're here to help people thrive through their cancer journey, whether they already got it or they're trying not to get it. We're down for it.
Yeah, and as you say so well, we're here to help you take your power back.
Yeah.
Power back. So tune in again. We'll connect some more dots for you.